Hey there, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, welcome, but if you've been here before, welcome back. What I thought we could do today is watch Foodie Beauty's Eating Like the 80s, because I was born in 1984, and I hope that some of this makes me feel a little nostalgic. However, I have to give the disclaimer. I don't have a lot of memories from the 80s. I'm much more of like a 90s child, really. But one memory I do have before we get started was my sister, who's older than me, convinced me one day that my Teddy Ruxpin, now if you don't remember what that was, it was like a bear and you put like the batteries in the back and a cassette in the back and it would like read you a story. She convinced me that it needed a bath, and that didn't end up well. So anyway, let's get started. Here we go.
Hello, Foodie Beauties.
Hey, Foodie.
I want my MTV.
Until we can get inflation under control, we're not going to get all of the other things that ail our economy under control.
Here's Johnny. Yes, it. Yes, namely, the Max syndrome string story.
Whitney!
And everybody thought, it was fun to eat SpaghettiOs.
Okay. Bagel Bites, Doritos, Heinz Alpha-Getty, and Diet Coke. Please don't tell me this is what she's gonna eat. Please, come on, is this it? Really? I wasn't allowed to eat any of that. I really wasn't.
Get into the groove, boy, you've got to prove your love to me. Yeah, don't you forget about me. Oh, damn it! Don't you forget about me. Don't. We can dance if we want to. We can leave your friends behind. Cause your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance well, they're no friends of mine.
No friends of mine.
Hey guys, hey, how are you? Welcome back to another Time Warp video. Gonna get my lace fingers here all full of Cool Ranch dust. Oh my goodness. Okay. Yeah. Alright. So, food. If you haven't noticed already, I'm doing an 80s video. I have my little bow in my hair, but you can't really see it. But
Nope.
anyways, this is gonna be, I wanna make sure you see the food. And so let's get to. So, I have my little gloves. So these are Bagel Bites. All right. Now, I'm not saying people only ate processed crap in the 80s, but people were eating more. And as you see, unfortunately, with the time pieces I do, there's going to be more and more processed food, because as the years went on, that's what happened. More processed food came out. And now
I would highly speculate that the reason why a lot of processed food was coming out was because both parents were working and they were running their kids to, like, you know, practice and like dance and all kinds of things. So actually, like, they probably didn't have a lot of time to cook a lot of food. Now, my mom did, but I was lucky, I guess.
now, if let's say I did a modern time, like right now, I would probably do some health foods, because a lot of vegan foods have come out, like Beyond Meat burgers or something like that. So I'm trying to do foods that are really with the time period. You know, there was a lot of low-fat, lean cuisine type of things. So whole low-fat fad was going on at the same time, juxtaposing to there being a rise in microwave foods and things like SpaghettiOs and Bagel Bites.
Well, to be fair, I do think that there was the low-fat thing, but you have to remember, when you take fat out of food, they put sugar in it to make it taste better. So that probably contributed to a lot of the health problems that we're seeing now with people my age. But I don't necessarily think that she should be, like, concerned about processed food, because that's what she still eats these days. The way she's talking about this stuff, her tone and the rest of it, makes it sound like she's, like, she's disappointed that this kind of happened, but that's all she eats is processed food. What does she eat that's not processed?
And Cool Ranch
With all due
Doritos.
respect. I'm not judging.
And to wash it all down, another thing that came out in the 80s was Diet Coke.
Yeah.
So let's crack it
I like
open.
Diet Coke.
Oh yeah. love Diet Coke. So, and these are foods I remember eating as a kid, and a lot of you may find this nostalgic as well. So Bagel Bites, I remember those apparently came out in the 80s. Cool Ranch Doritos as well, and SpaghettiOs. Now, I couldn't find actual SpaghettiOs. Here in Canada, I don't know if you have this in the US, guys, let me know. But we have something called Alphagetti. So it's like alphabet spaghetti. So, yeah, it's really hot right now. It's
Is she really gonna eat this? I mean, at the end of the day, look, guys. Even when I was like a little kid, I wasn't allowed to eat this stuff. I had to go to my grandma's house, and I could eat it there, but I couldn't tell my mom because she'd been mad. So the fact that we're seeing a grown woman eating this is like really kind of sad.
Alphabet-shaped pasta. You know, so. Beauty bite. I still love it. Once in a while. Sometimes I put hot dogs, sometimes I put cheese. But...
What? What?
Yeah.
I've never put hot dogs in any of that stuff. What?
I was born in 1984.
Oh my god, we're the same age! Oh my god. Oh. Okay, Mike, chill.
It's been a while since I had Cool Ranch Doritos as well.
I don't like them. Maybe like when I was younger I did, but...
I think they're my favorite.
No, thank you.
Do you guys like these bagel bites, pizza bites? They're pepperoni and cheese on little mini bagels.
No, to be fair, I don't know that I've ever had them. The closest thing that I remember having, and I don't think it was in the 80s, it might have been like way after that, was my mom used to, the one thing that she did let me have that was like a frozen meal was the Stouffer's French bread pizza. Oh my god, now that is good stuff. But I don't think I've ever had like bagel bites or like Totino's pizza rolls. I don't think I've ever had them. Maybe my life is just not great. Oh my god, what is she doing? Okay.
So yeah, I was born in 1984. So my early childhood was in the 80s, but a lot of the influence carried on into the early 90s. By the way, I have so much Aquanet in my hair that I didn't want to stand too close to the oven when these were cooking because, man.
Now, I don't know anything about Aquanet. Now, clearly, like, I don't think I've ever really used hairspray. And I think it definitely was a thing in the 80s. But I remember, okay, so, like, crimped hair and stuff was, like, a thing. And there was this doll. What was it called? I can't remember. But it had, like, hair. And if you, like, lifted the arm, the hair would come out. And if you, like, you had to, like, wind it back in. Oh, my God, I remember that.
Like,
she had crimped hair.
there's enough Aquanet in my hair?
I thought of that.
To cause an explosion bigger than a meth lab. That's what they used in the 80s. Obviously, I'm not using Aquanet because I can't find any. Do they still sell that?
I don't know. I wasn't looking for it. You were. You tell me.
I don't know. Mm-hmm. Now, family meals I remember having in the 80s were like, I remember a lot of snack food, but I remember also like a ton of new snack foods were coming out in the 80s. But I remember eating things like meatloaf and sloppy joes. And sloppy joes, I was going to make that because that did become really big in the 80s. But I want to save it for my TMI story time.
Why didn't you just make it? Doesn't it come in a can? It's like a canned, like, tomato sauce and, like, hamburger meat thing, isn't it? Like, manwich? Why didn't you just make that? What? I don't...
So traditional meals people were eating in the 80s weren't invented in the 80s, you know? I think Hamburger Helper was.
I couldn't tell you. I have no idea.
The seasoning on these Looks like Christmas. Red and green. And some white.
What are you talking about? Who cares? Looks like
So yeah,
Christmas.
1984. I remember I like John Hughes movies. Those were big in the 80s. You know, Pretty in Pink, The Breakfast Club, St. Elmo's Fire, and just like the Nintendo. So much happened in the 80s. The Nintendo, come on.
Yes. Now, Nintendo was my gig, right? I used to love the Mario Brothers 1, 2, and 3. I used to love Rad Racer. I used to love all these games, right? But the trick though was is that my mom said that unless I did I had to do certain reading and stuff like that, that if I didn't do that, that I couldn't play. So that was my motivation. Now, one thing about Nintendo that used to really make me laugh is if you go back and play it now, it's super grainy and weird. But actually at the time, that was really cool. I remember going to my friend's house and we used to, he had I can't even remember what it was called. It was a race thing, and it had dots on it and you had to run, and it was really interesting. It was really fun actually. But I loved Nintendo. There is that
original
nostalgic
Nintendo.
feeling about it. Yeah.
I remember playing that when Super Mario 3 came out. And Duck Hunt. Oh man, Duck Hunt infuriated me. I think I blame my current anger issues on Duck Hunt.
What? What are you
That
talking
dog.
about?
Mocking you for missing.
Oh. Yeah, there was this, it was kind of like me. Actually, there was this obnoxious dog that if you, you would shoot the ducks, and if you missed, it would laugh at you. Yeah, that was kind of annoying. I remember that. I wasn't a huge Duck Hunt person, though.
No. The 80s, of course, like any decade, had a dark side.
What's
If
the
you
dark
read
side?
or watch the movie American Psycho, for instance, you'll get an idea of the whole, because in the 80s this whole yuppie persona came out. Very consumer driven, materialistic driven type of person.
I don't think
Or the
that's
kind of
unique
guy
to
in
the
John
80s at
Hughes
all.
movies that Molly Ringwald would be attracted to.
But in The Breakfast Club, didn't she end up with the bad guy? With the jock or whatever? I can't remember. Why is that unique to the 80s?
The whole Wall Street materialistic kind of guy who's has a very shallow existence. You know, on the outward appearance, you're still put together. Everything is materialistic and perfect, and on the inside, you're empty.
What? Chantal? I can name people in literature that were characters and people like that were way before the 80s. I don't know what you're talking about. Why is that unique to the 80s?
One thing I love most about the 80s, and I'm so thankful that the 80s brought us. Definitely not the hair. I was gonna get a mullet wig, but maybe I should.
I would have loved to.
I know I
see
look like the
that.
fat goth chick from South Park, okay? I'm going for a Madonna look.
No, I was gonna say I think that your look. I think you pulled it together quite well. I would like to see some neon colors there somewhere, but no, that's all right.
So the one thing is the 80s horror genre. Nightmare on Elm Street. Jason. I think Halloween was late 70s.
Okay, so I can say to you that I have an aunt who seemed quite young at the time, and she loved Nightmare on Elm Street things. She absolutely adored them. And so I think I watched them really before I was supposed to. And I think there was a TV show in the 80s as well, Nightmare on Elm Street. I think there was a series. I don't remember. Or Tales from the Crypt. That kind of thing reminds me of the 80s.
The Shining.
Not my thing. Sorry, guys.
Sleepaway Camp, Night of the Demons, those campy, wonderful horrors. Basket Case.
I don't remember any of that. How?
Love it.
Okay, so Nightmare on Elm Street is like quite iconic, but like some of these things, like I've never even heard of them, and I don't know how she would know them unless like she was like 5 years old, sitting there really watching like a variety of horror films. One thing that's interesting though about the '80s horror films that I don't know that we see so much anymore was just like the sheer gore of it. They're like these days, like you see a lot of scary movies, and it's like cyber stuff, or like, you know, somebody has stalked somebody, you know, and it's like kind of like that. But then it was like the more like blood and guts that you saw in the film, the better. That I think is quite unique to the, well, not unique, but that's quite iconic of the '80s. Anyway. What is my life? Like, I always ask myself that question. What am I doing?
There's a lot of things politically. I don't follow politics very well. I was never big on political history. So, a lot of things happen in the 80s. I mean...
That's not true.
I'm here for the food, right? Because it's a food channel, but...
No, let's talk about... Well, I'd rather not. She's not talking about it, so I'm not going to talk about it.
I'm more interested in the pop culture as well. The music. I love 80s music.
Me too. Absolutely.
The more synthesizer, the better. 80s rock, hair metal. Grew up listening to Appetite for Destruction, Guns N' Roses.
Welcome to the jungle. Yeah.
But the thing I remember most is stealing. My mom had like a CD cabinet in the...
Well, then your family was fancy because we had cassette tapes. So wow, you had CDs?
unit.
Rich.
I used to comb through them, listen to them. And I took her Immaculate Collection, Madonna Immaculate Collection, and took it to my room.
Am I mistaken in thinking that Immaculate Collection was in the 90s? Or like maybe late, like very last, like 90, 89? I don't know. What she probably is talking about is True Blue, because they had like Papa Don't Preach and La Isla Bonita. It had like all these good songs on it. Now that is more iconic to the 80s than I think what she's talking about. But why does she... I'll tell you in a second. Hold on.
I don't think she ever saw it again. She never asked for it. I used to lock myself in my room and just play it and make my own little music videos. Because you can't think of the 80s without thinking of Madonna. I mean, she had her whole own 80s style going on.
This is what I thought she was going to do. What about, like, the others? Like, what about Janet Jackson? What about, like, Nasty Boys? Like, that, you know, there are so many more people than just Madonna from the 80s. I mean, even if you want to go, like, to, like, the one-hit wonders, what about, like, Debbie Gibson? What about Taylor Dane? What about, like, any of these other people? Like, why is she only talking about Madonna? Like, there was a lot of good music then, right? What is she doing? Whitney Houston, like...
She was very sexual.
Miami Sound Machine. Like, there was a lot of good music from them. What are you doing? I really care about Madonna.
And I was a kid. You're very curious about that kind of thing. Remember when she came out with her sex book? I think it was just called Sex.
I don't remember that.
And bookstores were still a thing. Like, I know there's chapters in that, but it was a little bookstore. I think it was called Kohl's. In our mall. And behind the counter.
Okay, so there are a lot of times where I've said to you that I feel like she always has to bring sex up somehow. Now, in the 80s, she's my age. So, okay, so 84 to 89. The oldest we could have been was like 5 and change, right? I don't understand why she would have known what sex even was. Like, why would she be looking for a book called Sex? Like, that's ridiculous.
And wrapped in shiny foil was this Madonna book, Sex. And what I would have given to be able to get my hands on that as a curious growing person.
As a 5-year-old, you wanted a book called Sex? Oh my god, I was over there waiting for like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and like hanging out with my buddy. What are you talking about?
As a curious growing sexual being.
Oh my god. This is a problem.
You know?
At the age of 5, you wanted a book called
That would've
Sex? Oh my god.
Dream come true. But I've never, now that I'm an adult, I don't think I've seen it.
Oh my god. One thing I do find interesting about Madonna, though, is I was reading an article not long ago about like how she like forbade her children from like watching like a lot of like MTV and music videos and stuff like that because she thought they were too provocative. I'm like, you were too provocative. That's really ironic.
I've seen her Truth or Dare documentary.
Dude, Dolly, I don't know what that is.
I've always idolized her and Tiffany.
I think we're alone now. Yeah, but I like Debbie Gibson better.
I think we're alone now.
Okay.
Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper was very progressive. Even to today, she was a huge ally to the gay community.
Duran Duran was my favorite.
Her name.
Tears for Fears.
Oh no, not Tears for Fears, but Duran Duran. Her name is Rio. That song is fantastic. I still listen to that song to this day. Like, or Hungry Like the Wolf.
One of my biggest favorites.
Her name is Rio.
What's your favorite 80s song?
That is a good question.
Aha, Take On Me, another iconic one.
What would my favorite 80s song even be? God, there's just so many. Like I'm like literally scanning every like song in my brain. No. There was a lot of good music from that time. A lot. Oh my god.
Doing these videos are super fun because I get to go back and just go back in time.
Can I ask you a question, Chantal? If you could go back in time, what would you do differently? What would you do differently in your life? I know what I would do differently, but what would you do? I would have. Now, if you asked me, what is it that you would do differently? I would have exploited my talent in a few different sports that I played and taken them a little bit more seriously than I did.
Immerse myself for like a whole day.
Immerse. That food is horrendous.
Someone said it would be fun to do a video from the future. I mean, yeah. It's hard to imagine what food will be like in the future.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have no idea.
Especially since right now, the future is kind of grim with everything. I mean, 2020 has kind of been a poster child for a dystopian future. So, if you want me to do a dystopian time warp video,
You know the word dystopian?
alphabets. You ever try to spell things out? I was just too hungry to worry about it.
Okay. That spoon is gross. I can't eat off wood like that. That's gross.
I never played with my food because I was too busy eating it. I would never disrespect food that way.
Fine.
We can go where we want to.
We've already sung this.
Now I have that song in my head. Safety Dance.
I like the safety dance.
Such a funny song. And video. The dance they do.
It's a funny one.
Ow.
Now what?
Apparently Hot Pockets came out in the 80s as well. Hot Pockets. If we want to go back in time and do something fun, YouTube has hours of retro commercials. And I'm warning you, they're addictive.
Okay. I'd rather not. I've been too busy watching some true crime stuff. Oh my god, it's crazy.
Yeah, I'd say Cool Ranch. I like the sweet chili heat ones too, but these I think will always be my favorite.
The Christmas Doritos.
They're so good. No. Diet Coke. Wash it all down.
Okay.
Yeah, in the 80s, a lot of fad diets emerged. I think that's where fad dieting emerged from in the 80s.
I don't remember. I was 5.
And they were focused a lot on low fat. Nowadays, we're focused on low sugar, low carb. But they were low fat. And
Low fat meant more sugar.
so
It's
that,
true.
you know, Diet Coke would become popular because 0 calorie beverage. And fad dieting was a thing.
Okay, hurry up. Come on. You're almost done.
Okay, guys. This was so much fun. I haven't decided on a time period for the next video yet.
90s.
I really want to try to aim to do one every week, but if I need more time to get materials or just
90s.
for whatever reason, might not be every week, but I'm going to aim for a regular series and hopefully they can get better with time. I'm really glad that you guys enjoy these and thank you for coming on this time trip with me back to the 80s and for having lunch with me.
Okay. Don't burp in my face. You know, if this is all that was in her video, this is really disappointing. I mean, she could have talked about, like, Cabbage Patch Dolls. Like, there were so many things in the 80s that were so iconic. And she didn't mention anything except for Madonna, a couple of songs, and Diet Coke. Like, and she ate SpaghettiOs on her video. Well, Alpha Getty, whatever it was called. They were like, what? See, my experience must have been very different than hers. Now, during the 80s, we lived in San Diego, California, so there was probably, which I don't remember very well, so if you live in San Diego, please don't ask me much about it, because I don't really remember. I didn't grow up there, right? We lived there for, like, the first part of my life. I'm just at a loss. I was really looking forward to this. And again, we're just back to the same, like, she just wanted to, you know, she wanted to do a mukbang and pretend that she was going to, like, entertain us. I didn't find this entertaining at all. I found it really disappointing. And I bet you somebody like DC Media Girl, I wish she would do, like, an 80s video because she has talked about, like, her experience in the 80s before. And I bet you it'd be much more entertaining than this. This was ridiculous. And, okay. Anyway, it was great to spend time with you today, and I hope that you enjoyed yourself. And if not, then I'm sorry. I'm sorry I let you down. But anywho, we'll hopefully see each other soon. Take care. Au revoir.